The first reports on missed intelligence regarding the Christmas terror plot are due to land on the president's desk today. The key question, how different pieces of information about Umar Abdul-Muttalib were never put together, despite the presence of an entire agency, the National Counterterrorism Center, that's designed to do just that. Charles Peña is a terrorism analyst and senior fellow at the Independent Institute. And even the head of the 9/11 Commission said, Charles, that awful lot of these questions sound eerily similar to the questions we were asking after 9/11, in spite of the fact that we've spent at least $40 billion on airline safety. Where should the finger be pointed here?
Well, I think we should be really careful about pointing too many fingers in too many directions. I mean, first and foremost, we need to understand that airline security at airports last weekend primarily designed to try and find weapons on passengers, not looking for explosives. So you couldn't expect the system to find something it's not set up to find. As far as the intelligence community is concerned, we have to remember that, sharing of information is a difficult thing for bureaucracies to do, no matter how hard we try to fix that problem. It's an inherently difficult thing.
What's so inherently difficult about it? We have an entire agency that's been set up, funded, staffed, in offices in Virginia to do exactly that.
That's exactly true, but government itself is not really set up to share information the way bureaucracies are designed and the way the incentives are put in place. It's not that it's impossible to do, and certainly we should do a better job at it, but I think people do need to understand that information sharing is really difficult within government bureaucracies.
Well, you keep saying that, Charles, but what's so hard about it? It gets entered into a database. There's access to that database, and you may not have a piece of information, and I'm guessing you're almost never going to have a piece of information that says red flag, this guy's actually going to try to pull something off. But when you get 3, 4, 5 pieces of information that put together ought to present a pretty clear picture, I don't understand what's standing in the way of that information being accessed, or with modern technology all coming together, given it's the same person.
Well, there are two issues here. One is access to the information, so that means who controls the database and who controls access to that. Within government, there's a lot of times there's much more of a protection, need to protect the information rather than need to share. We're trying to change that culture in government, but that change is going to take a long time. It doesn't happen overnight. But the second aspect of it is—
Well, it's not overnight. 9/11 was 8 years ago.
Change happens very slowly inside large bureaucracies. I mean, there's just no other way to put it. And so it's been, 8, 9 years since 9/11, but change is still happening within government, and we've gotten better, but we're not there yet. But another issue is connecting the dots. So even if the information is made available to everyone, it's easy to connect the dots looking backwards from a known event. It's much harder to connect dots when you're looking at them, not knowing what might happen in the future. And one of the things that we do need to keep in mind and balance is, okay, if we could have connected all the dots in this instance and maybe stopped this particular incident, but in how many other cases would we connect dots incorrectly and maybe falsely accuse an innocent person of potentially being a terrorist? And we do need to keep that in mind too.
Well, it's not about false accusations. It's about somebody showing up at an airport and being told you can't get on that plane. But we're out of time, unfortunately. So I'm going to have to leave it at that. But Charles, you wrote about this today, and people can look and see your point of view as well. And we thank you for being with us. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too, Chris.